Hello and welcome to the Sweaty the Farmer and the game design, where we put our nori to drive at the heat of the dying star. It's just special and delicious. This is episode number 74, The Life That We Build. I am the lone name gamer as the Sweaty.
And I am Lucho the Farmer. Thanks for joining us on this episode. This week, we lost the keys to our house.
My God, where are they? Do you have like those tricks when you like hide a key under the mat or like in a platter or like in the roof of a place? No. So if you
not safe at all.
But if you're stuck out of your house, you're done. You have to call somebody to open your house or break through a window. Have you ever had to do that? Break through a window of a house?
No.
Never. You never leave the house of your house inside your house?
No.
The keys of your house? Yeah, I have, and I have broken through windows to open the house.
I'm a decent person.
You're a decent person. That is your defense. All right. So, in the docket we have the accessibility in Final Fantasy XIV theme that we didn't speak the last podcast, and we're gonna do it in this one. Player housing in games in general, we're gonna start having a conversation about that. And finally, Blizzard is adding A+ scores into the actual game. We do have this system in outside websites for the time being, but now apparently they're gonna integrate it into the actual Mythic Plus system. You're gonna have a number similar to PvP, right? You have a number in PvP, right?
Not really similar. Like,
you do have kind of a number.
It's not similar to PvP.
All right.
That's very misleading.
We will get there. And Lucho will tell me that I'm wrong all the way through. So, now that I have you here, don't forget to subscribe, click the notification bell, leave us a comment, a like, or a dislike if you didn't like it, and the same with the comments. If you didn't like it, leave us a comment. We're terrible. And do anything social that your platform lets you. Click stars and follows and likes and everything else. This is the best way that you can give us support for the show beyond just listening to the show. We appreciate that. But we appreciate if you go a little bit further than that. That'll be fantastic. So, my friend, accessibility in 14. It is a fantastic kind of article that you give me from GameBite, and I was like reading it truly of what it means to actually help people making your game more accessible to a wider array of people. Not only breaking the barrier between PC like peripherals and console accessibility in terms of controls and that sort of stuff, but in terms of how much can you control your own interface into the game, how your controls can be smoother for the gameplay that you're looking for, how they can be easy to read because of where you're playing, if you're playing in a small screen or a big screen and that sort of stuff. It's been very interesting because it's clear that because 14, after their rebuild, aim in a big way to distribute into consoles, they have like a big leap to move that classic MMO gameplay when you have like a bazillion buttons and put it into like the controllers of the hand. So there is very interesting things here to discuss, because some of the most recent MMOs, because 14 is kind of oldish, right? What they do is they actually design the gameplay of the MMO to serve console players. So they have smaller rotation or abilities tabs, or easier to rotate the abilities tabs in their interface. Or they have smaller interactions where half of your abilities are passives and the others are actually active, so you can like map it properly into a controller, right? And I'm talking the examples that come in mind of this kind of approach from the beginning to be more accessible in terms of MMO is Elder Scrolls Online and Guild Wars 2. Both of those are clearly designed with console players in mind. I mean, you don't need that many buttons because that's one of the first barriers between PC players and console players in terms of accessibility. How many buttons do you actually have at your command?
It is just a limitation of the physical.
Yeah, the actual peripherals. Yeah, correct. So some of the MMOs do that. Like some of your abilities are passive, so you don't have to press it that much, and then you have like a very small collection of things active in your bard. Guild Wars 2 does this, and Elder Scrolls Online does this to approach that accessibility. But then there is the case of World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy XIV, which are fundamentally classic MMOs designed for the PC when you have like a keyboard of abilities and remapping and that sort of stuff, right?
That's not true for 14. That is true for WoW.
Yeah.
WoW is definitely just designed with PC.
Yeah.
14, not really though, because at least for the original 14, big part of the team that worked in that game was the same team that worked in 11. And 11 was a very successful MMO like on console in Japan.
Oh, okay. So they kind of, yes.
And 14, like they have always been very aware that the Final Fantasy main audience
is in console?
Lives on console.
Oh, all right. Fair enough.
So 14, like it nowadays looks like a very PC oriented game, but it was from the ground up. The original team was the one in charge of 11, which was a console first game.
Yeah.
And the original 14 had different problems UI wise.
Yes.
But that has never been lost for the Final Fantasy teams that their main audience is, I think there is one interview that I saw a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
Josh P talking about that basically some of the UI changes were kind of in response to what the Western MMO market looked like.
In 14.
In 14.
Right.
So the WoW-like look, it is on purpose, at least for PC space.
Yeah. I see.
But the control support was kind of baked in the fact that
I'm actually surprised you tell me this, because it is like 14 still feels like it needs a lot of buttons to be controlled, at least in the experience that I had played it off PC, right? So if they knew from the beginning that they're gonna go into the console, why not taking the approach of the other MMOs and simplify the systems a little bit?
That's a completely different question.
Yeah,
because you don't want to simplify the system.
Yes, of course. Well, it's difficult because you will benefit.
It's not difficult. You make a decision and you find solutions for the problem that you choose to tackle.
Yeah, of course.
What you're saying is, I don't want to tackle with the UI problem, so you just simplify the system.
Basically, that's what the other MMOs did. Like it just
that's what you're saying. It's
but the thing is, like, simplifying that style of system doesn't lose depth. Like
I'm not implying that.
Yeah. That's what you can read about it. Yeah.
Like that. I never mentioned those words. That's what you are assuming.
Yeah, that's what generally you hear. Like, oh no, they're doing something more simple, so it has less depth. So that's what you think.
Yeah, but that's not what I said. You just choose which battles do you want to fight.
Yeah.
And clearly the 14 approach was we're gonna fight the battle, and it makes a lot of sense. Like, do you remember that no clip interview or documentary?
Yeah.
That one of the worst parts of the original 14 was the UI.
Yeah, apparently
because it was all run by script.
Yeah.
And everyone hated. So whenever they revamped the game, they took a very in-depth look at how they want their UI to work, and it shows that they put a lot of care into it.
Absolutely.
So if you're already gonna do it, then
just do it all the way.
just work it all the way.
Yeah.
And
so
they did.
What has me surprised about this approach? Well, for starters, like they have a very cool feedback loop where they take they take the correct feedback into the UI systems, and they know that not everybody is going to be pleased for it, and why there's some other people pleased or not with the UI stuff that they change to begin with, but the other is like they're very delicate considerations of how their players are playing it. So one of the most interesting example was like, we have to consider that the people that play on console, they generally play on TVs, and on TVs you're not closer to your TV generally. You're far from your TV, so you have to give the player the option to like make bigger buttons or bigger UI pieces, and still have the same information that you will have in a PC screen when you have like more real estate and you're closer to your screen, so you can have smaller things to the information and that sort of stuff. And like that battle between that's why when you go to 14 and you open the UI thing, everything is resizable and customizable and movable across the screen and that sort of stuff, and you're like, whoa.
Which is a very modern feature.
Yeah.
You think of it, like not many games, even just PC games
have that
offer those options still not long ago.
Yeah, because
and this is still not like industry standard.
Correct, because I think about World of Warcraft and you have to install an add-on.
You shouldn't think about World of Warcraft because it's an old ass game and they haven't done much.
All right.
No, like the UI. Yeah. I mean, the UI, the basic World of Warcraft UI. It's a legacy of when the game came.
Jesus. All right. Yeah.
And there are a lot of people who actually like that UI.
Yeah.
They will fight till death. For that UI to stay in the game.
Yeah.
And I agree with you that it is a shame that you have to go through a fairly substantial amount of
add-ons and
of hoops to get the same functionality.
Yeah, correct.
And most like top players, either PvP or like PvE players, use self-UI, which is the main. Not the main, but like the
more friendly,
most versatile and powerful UI modification for the game.
Yeah, fair enough. And the other things like the array of options that Final Fantasy gives you. If you go to like Elder Scrolls
it's insane. It's so
crazy.
Good.
If you go into Elder Scrolls or Guild Wars 2, which are fairly recent MMOs or BDO, like you can compare. You have some options to resize stuff or like move or turn on, but to the degree of Final Fantasy 14, not even close. When you can move any window, resize anything, change like different type of fonts into the UIs individually.
No, it is. You can reposition everything. You can resize everything.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But it's the thing that it feels should be the standard.
Yeah, correct. When you especially in these kind of games, when you want a lot of different information in your screen, it should be like very standard. One of the things that they talk about in the article is the fear of putting too much power into the players' hands and overwhelm them with the options. And the conclusion at the end of that is like the logic one. It's like, yeah, you will overwhelm some players, but the benefit that you get from giving that flexibility is so much better than not have it, right? And that is the conclusion that they come with the end. That they run the risk of overwhelming players the first time that they go and try to customize a piece of the UI in 14. And it happened to me the first time that I opened like the customized thing in 14. I was like, what? I was like 500 grids everywhere, individual sizes, and I'm like, oh, okay. So you just leave it at default for the time being until you want to resize or move something that you actually need. At least that's what I did.
I mean, that's what most players do. You start playing the game, you figure out what your needs in the game are, because each player will have different needs for the UI.
Yeah.
Or different preference.
Yeah.
It is. I know that it's not related to UI.
Yeah.
But it's like you know how they don't have damage meter, and they do not approve of the use of damage meter.
In 14.
In 14.
I thought there was an add-on somewhere, but I didn't. I didn't because I was going through the story.
There is, but it's not. There is, but it is not approved, and they can ban you for the.
Oh my god! Yeah, because I was going through the story and I was like, yeah, I don't need a damage meter.
We are a 14 player. We are WoW players.
Yeah. We were like, I don't need a damage meter yet. I was like, I'm just going through the story and doing super chill stuff. I don't need to I don't need to know how much DPS I'm doing. But I didn't know. I didn't know that was actually. Yeah.
I get what they don't have it.
Yeah.
But if they really want to put the power in the player's hands, that's what I want. No, it's like I want to have the option to choose which information to show.
Oh, all right. Yeah, fair enough.
And that's something that, in all fairness, is also lacking in the basic WoW interface.
Yeah, correct.
But if we're going to talk about what is lacking in the basic WoW interface, everything is lacking. It's super basic.
Yeah, but at this point, WoW is super dependent on the million of add-ons that they have. Like, do you know
modern experience?
Do you know a player like that's legit my question? Do you know a player?
Plenty of players.
Do you know a player that does any high level content that doesn't have add-ons for it?
Yep.
Like DBM or damage meter or some kind of add-on or modification to the interface that does actually high level content.
Yeah.
Do you? Yeah, you think that is possible?
It's not common. But it's there.
That you can actually satisfactorily play WoW without any add-on help?
Yeah.
Alright, interesting. Like the minimal kind of add-on thing. I don't know. I got so used to all the UI
that's
WoW add-ons.
That's the thing, you get used to.
Yeah. Like for cooldowns and stuff. So but 14 does have add-ons, right? Does it?
They are very frowned upon.
They're very frowned upon. Okay. So yeah, it's from one to the other. There's like guilds who actually ask you for having add-ons for certain activities. And in 14, you technically don't need they don't like you to have add-ons.
That's the official position. They frown upon the use of any third-party add-on utility software thing. Which it's just so weird to me.
Why do you find it weird?
Because in my head, part of the PC gaming experience is modding game.
All right. Yeah. I know.
I grew up with I grew up playing PC games, and a big chunk of that experience is
what's mod in the game, putting cheats on it, and or doing several like modifications around it, make it like more interesting. Yeah, I know. It's a big part of the culture, like all the Nexus mods and all the.
It's a huge part of PC gaming culture. Yeah. You just want to change monsters in Monster Hunter for other monsters.
Yeah, or have like Thomas the Tank Engine as a dragon. Yeah. Or like Randy Savage, he was the other one that I saw.
Yeah.
You have like different skins and that sort of stuff. We do use like, for example, in talking about like Monster Hunter World, where the UI lacks that the god rays into the dropping parts and the items on the floor.
In my opinion, the Monster Hunter UI is awful for people.
Yeah.
I know, like I get why it is the way it is.
Yeah. You get the design. You get the reason of the design. But,
I completely get it. But for as a PC experience, it's just awful.
Yeah. So I think like the biggest thing that you can learn about all this talk about UI and UI adaptability and that sort of stuff is that, and the biggest lesson that 14 is giving us here for everything that I read about their approach to how they design things, why they do it, what kind of feedback they haven't been, is like it's always better to have more options, right? And they never try to push those options into the new players because, again, that's the fear of like you scaring people. So, for example, taking if you're gonna take the example of Monster Hunter World in terms of UI design and kind of like approach it with the same mentality of Final Fantasy 14, they probably will have a bunch of toggles into your interface for like god rays, changing certain stuff around, changing the position of certain item stuff, or like the size of the consumables, or that sort of stuff as an option, right?
I know what you mean, but there is an argument to be made about when you design the game and when you design the interface of the game.
Yeah.
You would hope designers to do it on purpose because they want the player to experience the game in a certain way.
Yes, correct.
And you have to, like, as the person who's designing it, you have to take, or you need to take a stand on how strong do you feel about if people should experience the game in the intended way.
Yeah.
Or how flexible do you want to be?
It's
because there are, for example, gray lines, and for example in Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
Like they don't show you the health of the monster on
correct
purpose.
On purpose, yes.
And that's and they have evoked law that is to help the monster feel more organic, like less of just a pool of numbers that you are hitting into, is so you have to pay attention to the monster reactions and movement.
Yep.
So it is on purpose. But on PC you can have mods that
show you the actual health of the monster.
It doesn't make you more powerful or better at the game.
Nope.
But it will show you the number.
Yeah. So and it could possibly like remove that tension that you don't know exactly when the.
Not only attention, but like part of the learning curve is to identify when the monster is tired, for example.
Yeah. So what do you think about the idea of having those options in the UI, but having them maybe blocked behind like a certain level or something like that, to kind of like preserve that original intended experience?
No, but for example, that's. You can. My point is that, like, for example, should that option be in Monster Hunter? I don't think so. I don't think that option should ever be there.
Okay.
Because not like showing the health of the monster is not making my experience with the UI better.
All right. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
But it's still a question about the UI.
Yes.
Where do you draw a line? Where do you like you cannot just give all the options and the players go crazy with it, because you are designing an experience when you design the game.
That is
you design the UI.
Yeah.
So it is a very fine line that you have to draw where. Yeah, I'm gonna give you as much power UI-wise as we can, but you're still designing.
Yeah, you still want to conserve
that experience in a certain way.
Yeah, you still want to keep that experience in a certain way.
So I agree. Like. Would I always like to have more options? Yeah, sure. But also that doesn't mean that all those options are gonna make my experience better. Because sometimes, I don't know. Sometimes the designers know better than me as a player.
We actually now, like, to the point that this discussion is so difficult and complex, to the point that we now in the industry start beginning just training people to design only UIs. Just study a bunch of ergonomics and psychology response and just design UIs. Nothing else. We have like expert UI designers specialized in doing like good small UIs, to the point that question is a bit better. I have another question for you in that same topic, with the example of Monster Hunter, because what if you are the developer of Monster Hunter, right? And you see that this mod gets super popular and everybody's using it. Will you implement it into the actual game? And the example will be with the God Race. Like, if you see that this God Race mod is super popular with all your players, will you consider?
They did it for Rise, for example.
They did it for Rise?
Yeah. The little drops it's not as prominent as the mod in the world.
Yeah.
But the drop have a little chance.
So it's better in terms of. So they kind of did it, what I just said.
Yeah, I mean, you can. What you're saying is, should game designers and UI designers
take a look at the
model from what the community is doing? Yes, sure, of course, you're always learning stuff.
Yeah, that was exactly my question. Yes.
I mean, no one makes anything in a vacuum.
Yeah.
You always get influenced by what other people do, and the modding community, for better or for worse, is one of the most genuine like pools of people being creative.
Fair enough.
With stuff.
Yeah.
So right. I mean, you saw like I'm pretty sure they saw the God Race and. They say, I mean, maybe the way that they're being modded, it's too invasive, but
we can do something closer to it. Yeah.
It's a good idea. So they just tone it down in a way that is not as invasive, because if you think about it's a very convenient mod.
Yeah.
But for the experience, it's very invasive.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's like a ginormous ray thing.
Yeah.
Of course.
They basically tone it down. They include it in Rise.
Yeah, making it more properly into the ambient of the world and that sort of stuff. Yeah. All right. And the other question that I have for you for this topic is, do you think that everything should be playable with a controller?
I mean, ideally, there are things that you won't be able to, but ideally, because it's not. I mean, for as much as I joke all the PC Master Race stuff,
he shame our friends for playing with controllers. He shame everybody.
I will always do that, but you should have the freedom to just choose the input. Device of your preference.
Yeah.
And it like usually when games have better controller support,
they
also for the most part, offer better
keyboard and mouse
support for like people with mobility restrictions.
Yes,
stuff like that.
Correct. Yeah.
Which is something that should be taken into account. Just by the fact that controls have less things to press than a 120 keyboard.
I know, right? And then we get to the last question of accessibility, which is kind of a hot topic right now, because I was seeing a news about Path of Exile and thing, and it's macros, right? How much you as a developer want to give the player accessibility to macros, because there is the fear that all developers have where some macros can make the game just some trivial and give you a competitive quote-unquote advantage using them, but they're great for people with disabilities and that sort of stuff, right? Or people being lazy like me at some points. Right? So how do you think you should handle it? For me, at least my opinion is that you should give the player, if you have that many options and you see that your game is kind of complex, you should give the player the ability to at least do basic macros as WoW and Final Fantasy offer some kind of. They're not the best ones to do, but they at least offers you some kind of
WoW refers one of the more flexible with macros. You can do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I like the WoW. I like this state in which WoW macros are at the moment.
Yeah.
Because they allow you to automate a lot of stuff.
Correct. Yes.
But it's not the optimal way of playing.
That is true.
Which I think is a fair compromise in between, because you don't want the optimal way of playing the game to be
just making a bunch of macros.
And it is.
Yeah, that is true.
It's like you can macro things so fast, like as inputs, that is just better than a person pressing the key.
Yeah.
So it is. I feel like the WoW plays right now is a fair compromise. But yeah, it is. You can do it.
Yeah.
But for how the mechanics work, it's never the optimal way of playing. Even for the easier classes as Arms Warriors or Beastmaster Hunter. Yeah. You can do it and you can clear the content, but it's not
the best way to play it.
Yeah. Which, I don't know, in my opinion, is a fair compromise. Is it too much? It could be too much for some people opinion. But
yeah, I prefer it. There was a news about a Path of Exile player which was banned because he was using some rapid fire macros because he was disabled and he was playing with only one hand. And Path of Exile is a game when you need to press a lot of buttons between the flask and the sword, the flask and the abilities, and if you have like a very active or very passive build, you will spam more or less buttons and that sort of stuff. So the developers have the right to be concerned about the rapid fire and the automation of some of the actions inside the game, and
it is
regarding to macros thing, but it's kind of it's weird because it's offered in the platforms. Like when I buy this Razer keyboard for gaming, they do have their own automations for macros and very flexible input abilities, and I use macro for some stuff.
But okay, like the hardware manufacturers, they don't care. Like they offer it because they can.
They don't care.
And who gives a shit about what you make?
Yeah, if you get banned or not. But I think in terms of accessibility,
you don't even need a specific hardware. You can just download a program
that makes macros.
You can write your own macros.
Yeah, you're right.
You can press one key and that's what computers do. It's just, I don't know. You cannot get away from that.
But in terms of that kind of accessibility for people with disability and that sort of stuff, the macro system is very convenient for them. In that way.
It is. Again, I think. I think that if the game is complex enough that it can happen, but it's never the optimal way of playing, it's fine. I don't see a problem with that.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like you'll never see WoW a top Mythic player or top Mythic Rider or top PvPer with like huge rotations of macros.
No, they just for the most part they use macros for targeting stuff, and
they use macros for focusing, like for target focusing and applying stuff to those targets, interrupts, stuns.
Stuff. Yeah.
That just takes away the annoying part of
tap cycling,
in WoW.
Tap cycling or clicking and that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Swapping, clicking, nameplates, whatever your option is, it just makes it faster.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the extent of what competitive players
do with with them.
And there are some other like quality of life things. Like hunters usually have pet commands in all their macro and all their skills, but that's just to deal with the limitations of pet AI in the game.
Yeah.
Warlocks usually do the same, again, for the limitations of pet command of pet AI in the game. So it's that a fair use? Yeah, it's just like that micromanagement. Just like if you have to do it by hand, that micromanagement doesn't contribute anything to experience.
Yeah.
It's just a chore that's kind of annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not like at that, like when you were doing, for example, pet commands, it's not you interacting with the game, it's you fighting with the AI.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, in the case of World War II, yes.
It's not a good experience. Yeah. So
why?
But it is automating part of the gameplay. I don't know.
Fair enough. Yeah. So yeah, we'll commend 14 for doing nice, very good work with their UI for what they do and the controls.
It is. It is a very modern UI in a very old game.
Yeah, we were checking out like how the control actually works into the game, and they have like these cycles, and very surprised when one of the main UI designers actually plays the game with controls. So they can feel like
a lot of them do.
Yeah.
Because again, I know you didn't know, but again, Final Fantasy has always been mainly
for console.
A console game.
Yeah, you're right.
And even the MMOs in the series.
Yeah, since time immemorial, their market was console for the stories and that sort of stuff. That is absolutely true. For me, I think in terms of input, I generally depends on the game. If I need in the game to have some precision, I will 100% will play it with mouse and keyboard. But if I don't have to have precision in the game, I probably pick up my Xbox controller and plug it into my PC. So that is my stance on it.
Mouse and keyboard master race.
That's Lucho's stance on it. He just
hide that fact.
He plays like Monster Hunter. I don't know. He plays Monster Hunter with mouse and keyboard. I'm like, this game is so much.
The games with mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, and like for that, those like Monster Hunter and a bunch of other games that are kind of third person, and like very dynamic, and it feels so much better to play. It's my opinion. It's my opinion. For me, it feels so much better to play with a controller, more natural. It makes sense. But
everything is so much better with mouse and keyboard.
There you go.
It's so much more responsive.
And this is our eternal struggle in terms of input.
No, that just means that each person has a preference.
Yeah, that is true. So,
I would never walk away from my mechanical keyboard. It feels so good. Like most. Even like top tier controllers, the switches are not as good as a good mechanical keyboard.
You are right. You are right.
I'm used to mechanical keyboard with decent switch. So now it, like any other switch, it just feels much.
So what if I take the technology of your mechanic keyboard and I make a controller out of it?
Some third-party controller manufacturers have gone that way of trying to take like mechanical switches and use that technology for controller.
Yep. Yeah.
With some success, but it's a very niche.
Very niche market and very expensive.
And it's super expensive actually.
Yeah.
So you can do it, but at that point you're probably willing to spend like couple $100 in a controller.
Yeah.
And for that money, just get a $200 mechanical keyboard. It will be more than a controller.
With a super precise DPA mouse, yeah.
No, you will only buy the keyboard.
All right, fair enough.
Like a good mechanical keyboard is like $150, $200.
Yeah, right. All right, and that is it for Accessibility in 14. They did a great job with you, right? In my opinion. Anything else?
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. Anything else to say about this, my friend, before we move on?
Not really.
They're very good.
No.
It is very good. They did a very good job with
again,
the UI.
as always, surprising us with.
Surprising now.
In a very positive manner.
Yeah. All right. And the next topic is player housing in games. Probably. Yeah. And why does World of Warcraft has no player housing? Or apparently did have player housing in an expansion and they let it die.
Because the way they implemented it was funk.
Yeah. So, first things, what does it mean to have player housing in a game? What does it give to the player?
It means different things for different games.
All right, tell me about it, Lucho. Tell me your opinion. Big your mind. Tell me what you're thinking.
What I think of what?
Of giving player housing in games. What does it mean for a player? What do you think it means for a player?
It's just to give players like a little place that they can customize.
Yeah.
It's just we want to play the themes in every game. That's what it boils down.
I will say it's more of an extension of expression from a player, right?
Yeah, it's just another customization.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it gives. Like beyond how you dress your virtual doll in these virtual games.
No. It's after dressing your virtual doll, you wanna give it a house.
Yes, exactly.
So you see, we just wanna play The Sims in every game.
Yeah, of course. But the effect that it has is just like it makes you more immersed and invested in the game. Undoubtable.
It's an extension of the whole RPG concept.
Yeah. And so it always like well implemented and in a decent way that it makes sense into the game that you're putting it. It always benefits player retention and player immersion and player investment into the game, right? That's the main reason why player housing is important, because it's just another axis where you can retain your players in a long form game, right?
Because dress up dolls.
Yeah, and collecting stuff and like having trophies and that sort of stuff.
No matter the game that you're playing, we always want to play The Sims.
that is Lucho takes on it.
No, it's true. Like, I mean, even if you don't like RPG game,
yeah,
or tabletop RPG or any form of role playing,
yeah.
Still those basic RPG elements of.
She just made me realize something.
What?
Keep going.
Even if you don't like those things, like we have like an instinctual need for like reflecting ourselves in the things that we take part in.
Correct. Yeah. Leave our mark in the world beyond what actions do we do in the actual game world, right? Even on mark building and statue stuff. Yeah.
And for a lot of games, that is just how you look. Like, even if the game has nothing to do with RPGs, you still want to look different to the rest of people.
Yeah.
And housing is just an extension of that.
Correct. But it makes a little. I think it makes not only a complementary impact into the player experience, but it makes a little bit more of like you leaving your mark into the game.
Yeah. It doesn't change the experience on the gameplay per se.
Yeah.
It just makes you more invested in the game.
Yeah.
Which, at the end of the day, that's kind of all that matters if you want to keep
players playing.
And if not playing, at least invested in what you're selling them.
Correct. Yeah, the thing that I just realized is that without me realizing it, we are playing a tabletop RPG with Lucho and some other friends. And you actually did player housing in my game, and I was I just realized.
Well, I was very aware of that.
You were very aware. I was like, oh yeah, he wants to. He builds businesses for me. That's the way that I approach it. But I just realized that you actually made a base of operations.
I was. That was very on purpose. I knew that was gonna end up happening.
Just made player housing, and I didn't realize at all. There you go.
Yeah, and I knew it was that we were gonna end up using it as basically as a base of operation.
Absolutely.
And it just like for a role-playing game.
Yeah.
In general terms, it is natural to want a place where you can come after a mission and just feel safe and feel at home. So I was doing it like when I told you that I wanted that.
Yeah.
I was doing it on purpose for that.
Fair enough. I didn't even realize it because I don't know. I was more concerned of like where the story is going and something else. Even realizing that you actually were doing player housing.
I mean, I don't want to say that is your fault, but that's one of the things that help the campaign and the world in the campaign feel more alive.
Yeah,
it's like to have a home.
Yes, that is true.
Even if it sounds cheesy, it's just.
I know. And again, like that is, and I bring into this because that is the importance of the player housing, right? That feeling, that retention, that kind of effect that has into your players with your game. So that's the really big benefit and impact that player housing has in games in general. All right. Now that we have that clear, what is player housing and why it's important in video games? Why does World of Warcraft, one of the most popular MMOs in the planet, could not do player housing properly? Or did it have it at some point in the currency apparently, and they why did they not take hints from like 14, for example, which has like some player housing?
The 14 model is very flawed.
Yes.
I wouldn't take 14s as the
example to follow. Yeah.
The blunder with so during World of Draenor, WoW attempted a form of player housing. So basically, each player had its own like pocket town.
Yes.
Which was your garrison, and it will have spaces where you could build little things, and it will give you resources and it will benefit your professions and stuff. And if you say it out loud, it sounds like a really good idea. Like, it sounds amazing.
Yes.
You have your own place, you can upgrade it, you can build your own.
It sounds like every other good player housing system.
Yeah, the problem is that at least for that specific implementation, was that it was so interlinked with with professions and with gold making and with resource farming.
Yeah.
That it basically caused the players to, whenever you log into a game, you would spend more time in your garrison than
doing
on
anything else. So basically what you're telling me is like they give him mechanically too much important to the player housing.
It was mechanically too important.
There you go. Yeah.
But the argument is that it made sense for the expansion.
So
like if you play through the story of Worlds of Draenor,
yeah,
it made complete sense.
So not only they did it mechanically important, but they did it centralized to the expansion.
Yeah.
Which I don't think is what you want in a scenario.
No, it depends.
Well, again, I don't know.
It depends. Do you want to make it a permanent feature or not?
Well, the idea is yes, because it keeps your players coming back to keep excited to buy new things for it, right?
You can argue that WoW doesn't need that for players to come back to a game.
You can make an you can make you can make that argument, but I don't know, like every other game has made it like so much, like at least every other game that we have played has a more non-invasive and kind of like better comprehensive player housing system, don't you think?
I know, but you can just argue that WoW doesn't need it for people to play WoW.
All right. Will players want a proper player housing system?
Oh, a lot of them do. But again, most of them don't really care.
All right.
Because WoW, like it or not,
yeah,
the players who stay playing WoW don't do it. Most of them don't do it for the role play.
All right. Yeah.
They do it for the activity. Okay. And you don't need a house to raid with your friend.
Not necessarily.
If you boil it down to why people come back to WoW.
Yeah.
People come back to WoW because they have a community of people.
Yeah.
That they can enjoy content with. For that, you don't need a house.
Yeah, you're right. But you will benefit greatly for what?
Would it be? I don't know if it will benefit. Would it be? Because those are different things. Like, yeah. Would you benefit? I don't think you would. Would it be nice and cool? 100%. Do I want? Yes, I do want.
But make it like, isn't that a benefit for your rotation? Making your players have something nice and cool?
It depends. It depends on what the goal of your game is.
All right.
And I don't know if that's what WoW was built for.
Okay. All right. So the
because WoW lives and dies, in my opinion, from the quality of the actual endgame content.
All right, yeah, I know you're saying yes.
But that's kind of a WoW thing. It's because WoW, for as much as an MMORPG it is,
yeah,
it's kind of a dungeon simulator kind of thing.
Dungeon simulator, what?
No, in the sense that it has a story.
Yeah.
If you're for some reason investing in the story, you will enjoy it.
Yeah.
But that's not what you play with.
Fair enough. Yeah.
If most people don't play it for the role playing, for the actual role play.
Yeah, you're right.
You can do it, and you will find a community of people who role playing WoW. But the reason why you play WoW is for the raid and the dungeons, and to do it with your friends.
Yeah.
If one of those elements is lacking, you won't play WoW.
Yes.
Or most people won't.
Yes.
Including me.
Yeah.
So, would I like to have a house in WoW? Yes, because I think it's cool, because I like playing dress-up dolls. Would that make me play WoW if I don't have any of the other things in the game?
Yeah.
Nope.
All right. All right.
So, is it...
Yeah.
So, in that sense, does it provide a benefit? Nah, not really. If you boil down WoW to what it really is.
All right. Okay. Well, I don't know. It's such a cool feature.
For example.
Yeah.
Why does it work so well in gacha game?
Because it's more dress-up dolls personally. I was gonna
more dress-up dolls. It's because gacha games are successful because they build an emotional attachment from the player to a character.
Correct. Absolutely.
And in that emotional attachment, you want to take care of those characters.
Yes.
And the housing plays a part in that.
Yeah. It's like I was talking with Lucho off stream about this. It was of the podcast. It was this like, I put some beds into my house in Hokai Impact, and he was like, why? And I was like, because I saw them around there. They were like falling asleep. So I wanted to have a nice bed so they can sleep. That kind of attachment is what you produce.
And that's not you being weird. That is on purpose. Like the game does it on purpose.
Yes. Correct.
And the game is counting on players. That's why people talk about waifus. It's not because you really want to fuck the shit out of to a character. It's because... It's because it relies on the emotional bond that you form with this character.
Yes.
This imaginary character.
But you want the same. You want kind of close to the same attachment when you're playing an MMORPG to your character that you're.
You would. I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. That you don't generate that kind of attachment in WoW, because WoW is not designed for that.
Fair enough.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, would it benefit, like, in the greater sense, as an RPG?
Yeah.
Sure. But I don't think WoW cares about being a great RPG. Like, for the role-playing part.
Yeah.
It's a great game for what it does, but it does something very, very specific.
Yeah.
And you see you see the reflection of that in the community that plays WoW.
Absolutely.
Which is a super competitive, super toxic community.
Absolutely.
So would they like to have a little house? Yeah, sure. But
yeah.
But you know, that's kind of not what WoW is selling.
Fair enough. The other question is like, what do you think is more interesting or better or something like that? Having like individual player housing or organization player housing, like the dojos in Warframe, or both. In that case, what do you think? Or like, because we have a lot of games where player housing is much more important mechanically in terms of what they can do in the space. Like, for example, Path of Exile, their housing is more important because you have a bunch of utility inside your housing, and you can like do almost all the end game from your housing, and you do trading in the housing and that sort of stuff. So it becomes kind of like your hub place in that sense, or a more organizational player housing when it becomes your dojo, like in Warframe, when you have like a bunch of utility for your community palace in the thing.
It depends. Like, my answer will be that it depends, and it depends on where are you building the emotional attachment for your game.
All right.
So, for example, if your emotional attachment is like with the characters, personal housing, it's perfectly fine.
Yeah. Like in
because
the
you are caring about your little character.
Yeah.
So you want to provide what you want.
Yes.
If the emotional hook for the game has a more social component, like Warframe, where clearly a big part of the success of Warframe is its community, then social housing makes more sense.
Yeah.
And in that train of thought, if you were to housing for WoW, I do believe that the more beneficial way of doing it is
social housing, right?
It's social housing, like guild housing.
Yeah.
Why? Because WoW thrives for the social component.
Correct. Of course, we have games like Warframe where they have them both. When you have your social, your house space in your little.
It's a weird beast.
Yeah, I know. where you have like your own personal space in your orbiter, which is a small ship, and you have your own side. And this is not like recent, right? Well, what you assume that your orbiter is kind of your house in Warframe because you spend a lot of time in there. And then you have the dojo, which is the big social space for housing in Warframe. But recently they added like a wing of the orbiter for you to be more customizable and feel it more like home, beyond like putting a bazillion relics all around your ship just to make it feel like Lucho does.
A lot of people do.
Like a lot of people do. But that's the sort of attachment. That's why people been playing Warframe for years and years and years, because they were allowed to do kind of that modification to their main play space, which was the
orbiter. But for Warframe, I feel like it comes from a different place.
Yes, it comes from a different design decision stuff.
Yeah, it comes more from the fact that Warframe is very aware that customization is one of its main selling points.
Correct.
And they know that, and they just lean into that.
Yeah.
So they know that customization is their big selling point, so they're gonna sell you that. We're gonna offer you all the customization
that they can, every single thing, every single space, every single thing. So
it comes more from that design space of we're gonna offer you everything, and everything includes player housing, social housing, and all types of crazy stuff that you wouldn't have thought about.
Yeah, absolutely. Does 14 has social housing? I know that they have like player housing when you go to an island.
Yes, so free companies can buy houses.
And they themselves can buy
become free company houses, and players, part of that free company, can actually buy rooms in their free, which is one of the ways that is one of the cheaper ways for players to access player housing, like individual housing, is to get into a free company that has a company house.
Yeah.
And where you can buy your own room into.
My God. Yeah, there you go. All right. So what do you think about Monster Hunter housing?
Monster Hunter, that's the problem, is that it's not super relevant, if we're being honest.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's just like a more. It's not. It has some mechanic implications.
No, but more than that, it makes sense the way it works in Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
If you think about what Monster Hunter is, aside from just like past the challenging enemies,
yep,
like the mechanically challenging encounters.
Yep.
All there is left in Monster Hunter is just a collecting game.
Correct.
And in that sense, the housing serves perfectly that purpose, because it's just about collecting stuff.
All right.
It's just about like collecting cute things in the world, like while you're exploring it, and putting them as pets in your house.
Fair enough. All right, now the internet thinks that these player houses are the best player houses. The Star Wars Galaxies. When you can, not only you could have your own house in Star Wars Galaxy, but you could leave a whole community of players in designated player cities. You could decorate your own house with an array of options, and you could do the same with the city at large. As more and more people declare citizenship, more city buildings will unlock, and eventually all pre-built NPC populate the city. So this is the social housing concept taken to another level.
Very social.
It's just you're actually building a city of players.
That's a very cool concept.
Yeah, and the city was far from static. Taxes were collected. Elections were held.
Sure.
everything that it does. So this is very, very interesting. The next one that it says is Final Fantasy 14. Is it good player housing?
I don't know that.
Yeah, I don't know. The third one is World of Warcraft garrisons.
They were, again, if you think if you think out loud about what the garrisons offer at the time, it's amazing. It offers you a place that you can customize while offering you gameplay bonuses and advantages.
Yeah,
it's all you could desire from it.
Yeah.
It was just too much for what World of Warcraft is.
Yeah. And finally, Ultima Online. Ultima Online might not be as pretty as the other entries in the list, but when it comes to house customization, it can be beat. From single-room cottage to sprawling castles, when it comes to build structures, players are only limited by plot size and imagination. It's like the old classic player housing stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if I would put 14 there. Like, it is definitely in that list because it offers a lot of customization options, and you can make your little house basically into whatever your imagination and your skill in the game can afford.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it's great, but the access is so limited that a lot of players, like in game, will never experience it to its fullest. So I don't know if you can call that a good experience.
Fair enough. All right. And what does the internet think that are the best features in player housing? And I sound like a BuzzFeed article because I'm going to say like number 1 will surprise you.
Okay, surprise me.
Yeah. Bathrooms.
Bathroom.
Yeah. Bathrooms is the number 1 thing.
Sure.
Nothing takes me out of immersion of having a video game house that lack a bathroom. I guess.
You know that?
I guess that they're important.
Yeah, I don't know.
The rest are like the ones that make sense. Movable furniture, like a lot of player housing has that.
Sure, that's part of like just having a good customization system.
Yeah. Displayable collectives, so have like a place or a way that you can put your achievements.
Super important. I agree with that.
Yeah. And finally, home renovation.
What do you mean by that?
Like putting extra things in your house, like a deck.
Oh, for sure.
Like an extra room or like a more fancy bathroom in this case.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah, so that is about player house. What is your favorite player housing before we move on, my friend?
My favorite player housing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably Warframe.
Probably Warframe. Dojos are super cool. And the
Orbiters
are super cool too.
But it's just because I like the level of customization. You can the host I think it's monthly content.
Yeah.
For clans to submit their clans to a little contest that they make.
Yeah.
And you see, like, you can see in game the feature ones, and it is insane what people build.
Absolutely.
With the in-game resources, and people build dragons and mechas and crazy stuff out of stupidly simple pieces.
Yeah.
Just a lot of
Yeah, absolutely. Just for the flexibility of what you can build.
Would I ever do it? No, I don't have nor the patience or the time. But I think that the fact that people can do it, it's amazing.
I will agree with you. I think the best player housing that I've seen is Warframe. They are as like in dojos and in orbiters. They have like an insane array of customization of what you want to do, how do you want to do work. Of course, inside like maintaining the aesthetics of Warframe, but
yeah,
I think it's the most complete of player housing customization / stuff.
Not only that, but it for example offers so for example in like events will usually reward dojo decoration.
Correct.
And that those for example will never come back. Like if the event is gone,
it's gone.
Those decorations are gone forever.
Nice.
So you can see clans and dojos that have been around for forever.
And they have ways to actually show it, like
they have those old school decorations that are unattainable anymore. Like just impossible. Like for example, the dojo that the clan that I'm part of.
Yep.
Which is Xenogallium's clan. You can he has taken part in the OG events. I have never even played.
Yeah.
And it's very cool to just go. They have like a little room with all the
event
little trophies.
Yeah.
It's very cool to go and see. Oh, those are the trophies for
X and Y.
Amulet, for example.
My God, Jesus.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's for example the thing that would benefit WoW a ton.
Yeah. Having that kind of stuff to show up.
Just to reinforce the social components of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we want. Even if Blizzard ever hear this podcast, that's what we want. Social space. Yeah, look at Warframe as an example. They're the biggest social space example that I can think of now. Or like you can go and watch 14 in their company houses.
There are many ways of implementing it. It's they can do it in many ways. They can just give it to everyone kind of approach of Warframe.
Yep.
Or they make an actual market for that, so it's a gold sync, like 14.
Yeah. Correct.
But I mean, WoW would benefit a lot from. It would benefit in that it will reinforce even more the social aspect of WoW, which is one of the core pieces of the game. So that you can have a place where your guild can go and put you should get trophies whenever you get achievements for PvP or PvE or something, or they could create they could expand the guild achievement section, so they give you trophies and you create a housing place where your guild gets to display.
Yeah, and you can have things like in Warframe when you donate resources to certain project inside your social player housing. Yeah.
It will benefit in that it will definitely improve the social experience of the game. It will be super cool.
Absolutely. All right, and talking about WoW, our final topic of today is Blizzard is adding M+ scores in the game. What is this? I heard that they're just gonna put the radio IO score in your Mythic Plus.
That's the short version of that. So basically, the short version of that is that's what they're doing.
Correct.
We should explain. So Rider.io is a third-party site.
Yep.
That basically you can link your Blizzard account to that site.
Correct.
And it will keep track of the dungeons, the Mythic Plus dungeons, and the level that you complete them, and how well you time it, or how bad you didn't time it.
Yeah.
And it basically has a formula that gives you a little score for each one of those.
Yeah.
And it will add up all the scores and it will give you a big number at the end.
Yeah.
That number is a measure of how good.
Yeah, quote unquote. But really, man.
It is a measure of how much have you completed and how much time have you invested in it. Yeah. Kind of a mix of both.
All right.
Basically what WoW is, and that's one of the community uses it as one of the main ways of measuring your progress and to some extent how good you are in the game. So for example, when you put up fog team together to clear Mythic Plus.
Yeah.
That's one of the main things that people look into is your Raider IO score.
Yeah.
But it's still a third-party solution. You need an add-on to see other people's IO. And it's very flawed because not everyone ever registers into a system. So those people don't have a score.
Correct.
For example. It is very flawed also in the sense that it doesn't use the log information at all. It is not taken into account. So you can be carried, for example, through all the dungeons up to 15 and you'll have a freaking insane IO, but you don't know how to play that class.
Yep.
That's one of the big flaws, for example, of the IO system, as it is right now.
Yep.
That you can just pay. Basically, you can just buy score.
All right.
And it will get you into group.
Yeah.
Because people use it as a way of gatekeeping bugs. And what WoW is doing now is that they basically are gonna make it officially part of WoW. And what they did is that they approached the people at Raider.io.
Yeah.
And they asked them about what their formula is.
Yes. They're
basically gonna just include it in, not just include it, but like based on their discussions with the people at Raider.io, they said that they have created their own formula that it's pretty much inspired by the current Raider.io. And in 9.1 we'll get that like as an official in-game.
Oh my god! All right, what do you think about this? What, is it good? Is it bad?
I think it's an awful idea.
I heard Asmogul opinion recently. Was like, it's fine. It's the same as PvP. He's gonna give you a number and blah blah blah.
The problem is that it's not the same as PvP.
Yeah. All right.
It is the same in the extent that. Yes, it is a score.
Yes.
But for example, unless it and this depends on the modifications that they do.
Yeah.
The PvP score, it works like a basic elo system. So it will go up and down depending on your wins and losses.
Correct. Yeah.
And it changes depending on basically.
It's a classic. Yeah,
more
it's a classic
or less depending on how high or low
your
enemy.
It's a classic elo system. Yeah.
It's a modified elo system.
Yeah.
It's not just an elo system, but it has more to it than that.
But it's close to it. Yeah.
But it's very close to an elo system. So, which are proven to be good at what they do, but they have a lot of defects.
Yeah.
So you have to take them for what they are.
Yes.
We don't know, for example, if the Raider score or the Mythic Plus score is gonna go up and down. Like, for example, if you deplete a key...
That's a good question. Yeah. I imagine that it's more a static thing because you just clear the key
people are expecting it to be closer to what the current Raider.io is, which it doesn't go down, it only goes up. And if you deplete a key, you don't get much. You can improve your score, but not by a big amount.
Yeah.
So that's definitely one option. But it could also be that, like, if you really want to encourage like a more competitive scene
in Mythic Plus,
it will definitely a more a system closer to an elo system would probably be the better option.
Yeah,
if that's what you want to do with the system. But that we don't know. The assumption that everyone is making is that it's going to be closer to. It's basically just going to be right there
on WoW officially, basically.
Officially on WoW.
Yeah.
The problem, the big problem is that now, if you want to take part into it, you have no option.
Yeah, you cannot opt out as you can with Radio.
You cannot opt out of it.
Yeah.
Which, it's good or bad. Like it depends on your take.
But you think that? Yeah. Go ahead.
It will give more tools to the people who want to be elitist in game.
Yes.
Which is, I do believe, is a problem in the game. I don't think. WoW is full of all these gatekeepers of the game.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's healthy for WoW. Because it's keeping away, it's keeping a lot of people away from experiencing the game in a more positive light.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say something, I forgot my idea.
You forgot.
So yeah, the fact that people cannot opt out in a community as toxic as WoW's community, it's just gonna make everything. It's just gonna make pugging, for example, more of a pain in the ass.
And there we go again with the pugging problem and the stuff and the elitism.
Because it exists, and it's something that you can not ignore.
Yeah.
Like pugging is a thing in the game; it cannot be ignored. Part of the experience.
So you think it's bad overall that they shouldn't do it?
I think you widen the gap between it will widen the gap between like the elitist players, and the more casually community, or the more receptive community.
Yeah.
And it will make it more difficult for people to not jump in between those, but like to make the transition. So for example, if you are casual but like have an interest in taking a look into a more
Mythic Plus scene or competitive
side of the game,
it
will just make it more difficult, which is what PvP, the problem in PvP.
Yep.
One of the big problems in PvP in WoW is that the barrier of entry to get into rated PvP is super high.
Yeah.
not only skill wise, but like because there is no easy way of getting into it.
Yep.
Like you're either in or you're out of it.
Yeah. So it's a bad idea.
It's a bad idea in my opinion for that reason.
Yeah.
For example, if I want to pug a key and it's my key, would it make it easier for me to filter through gear players with less experience? Yes. Yeah. And I would benefit in that way from it.
Yes.
But that I benefit in that way doesn't make it good. Because I don't think that benefit outweighs the burden that is gonna put in the overall
community.
Community.
Yeah. There is a lot of discussion about this feature in the player base I've seen.
It's a very controversial
move. Some people say, it already exists. Like people use it all the time. They just gonna make it official.
It's a fair argument.
Yeah, which is they just gonna make it official and easy to see from inside the game. That's basically what the majority is saying. Like, it already exists.
It's a very fair
change. And the things, the main argument of those people is like, it won't change anything. Like, we just have like an easy way to check it for the people who checks it and use the
yes, I agree with that. It won't change anything for them.
Yeah,
it will make it will just separate more the player, which is a change that they won't feel.
Yes, because they already are in that sphere of people who push Mythic plugs and have good scores.
Not even that push, like on the sphere of people who care about the stupid number.
Correct.
So it won't have any effect on them, for sure. But that doesn't mean that it's not going to affect the community as a whole.
So is it like, it could be the other way I was thinking was like, it could be like the correct way for Blizzard to actually make Mythic Plus a proper competitive sport, right? They just put in a gatekeep telling like, this is a serious part of the game. The same as it happens in PvP, right?
Sure, but what is the point of that?
Just giving more legitimacy in the...
That's not gonna make...
More legit in the eyes of Blizzard, I guess?
No, that's
or in the
not
eyes
a
of
thing.
the player, when you know that activity is super difficult or something like that?
That's not a thing at all.
Alright, fair enough. That was my opinion. I don't know. I don't know. Like, I have no...
WoW won't succeed as a competitive game because WoW is super boring to watch.
Fair enough, yeah. Yes.
It has like the competitive side of WoW won't ever be widespread.
Yeah.
So WoW is
and it's not visually designed for people to watch, because there's visually designed games for people to actually stream and watch, probably. But yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, like can it have a healthy competitive scene? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
PvP in WoW does. It has a healthy competitive scene.
Correct.
Mythic Raiding does. It has a fairly healthy competitive scene.
Correct.
Like you get 3 or 4 big competitions every 2 years.
Yeah.
It moves a lot of
viewers.
It drives a lot of content and it moves a lot of viewers.
Yep.
And people do pay attention. It's healthy.
Yep.
MDI is it can get to the same place, that it can bolster a healthy competitive community of teams being put together, being seriously competitive on the leaderboards, and people paying attention.
Yeah.
But it will never be widespread.
Correct.
So I think that's what they should aim for. But it shouldn't be in detriment of the greater experience in game.
Yes. The other question is, why do you think they're doing this now, Blizzard?
That I do not know.
Yeah, I was asking myself the same stuff. It was like, what? Why? There has to be some kind of reason for why they're doing this now.
The reason is probably to bring it closer to the PvP experience.
Yeah, I was thinking the same.
It's just that.
Yeah. Just want to closer to the PvP experience.
It's just they need they need a way to measure. I mean, they don't need, but like as one of the, if Mythic Plus wants to be one of the 3 main components of the game, as it is evident that they want to take it into, they need a way to measure the progression of players and to showcase that to the community.
All right, so the obvious reason.
Mythic Rating has it in the feats of strength achievements.
Yep, correct.
PvP has it in both the achievements and the score.
Correct. Gladiator achievement and that sort of stuff,
Yeah. And Mythic Plus as a newer system doesn't have much of that.
So the obvious reason they just want to bring it in onto part of the other activities.
That's probably the main reason. And for as many effects as it has, it works kind of okay.
Yeah, you can say that.
I mean,
yeah,
it has many flaws, but it kind of works okay.
Yeah.
But it's just that people are not very aware of the message that you send when it is a third party. Like the difference between being in game as an official measure and being a third party thing. It sends a completely different message to a player.
Yeah, absolutely. It gives
that message is very important.
Yeah, it gives the player the direct message of this is what it matters.
Yeah.
And that is the thing. All right, I think we're gonna leave it like that. We think it's gonna change more for us. I don't think.
I mean, not for us personally.
Yeah. We overall.
That I agree with
we overall don't think it's a great idea, but we see why they're doing it.
Yeah. That's like many things. I see where it is, where they're coming from. I do understand the reasons.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the best solution. I don't know what a better solution would be, to be honest.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
I hope they can. All we know is that it's going to be greatly inspired by the rated IO formula. I hope they have their own metrics that no one can access to.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. That would be much better. Yeah.
So no, all I'm saying is that all rated IO can do is read logs.
Yeah, correct.
Because that's how all these things are
calculated.
Are built.
Yeah.
Just using the log the information log.
Yeah.
And the publicly available information that they can read from basically the WoW armor.
Correct.
Which again comes just from log. I'm pretty sure Blizzard has access to way more metrics inside the game that they do not show and they do not log.
Yep.
And all we can hope is that they take those into account to make the scoring system more robust.
Yep. If not, we're gonna have carry people everywhere, people getting carried to get the score, to participate in thing in chaos, and that all sorts of stuff. The plugin will be worse, basically.
We won't feel it. We personally won't feel it, but it will be worse in game.
Yeah, correct. All right, now we move on to other user questions and feedback. Remember, if you want to leave us a question here, you can leave it down in the comments if you're watching us on YouTube, or you can send us a message to any of our varied social media accounts, Twitter, WhatsApp, Discord, whatever you want to communicate with us. So the first question of this week is, will gamers be more forgiving of game developers if they could present themselves in a more human way? Like Yoshi P Cookies stream, for example.
Would it? Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes game developers are just corporation.
Fair, yeah.
No, like the EA people. But
yes.
I mean, sure, we disagree with a lot of the practices that EA as a company
has.
But still, the games are made by people.
Yeah.
It's not EA, the corporation, just making games.
Yeah. Well, there's a bunch. I think there's I don't know how that will work. Like, imagine if the Anthem developers will try to do this, and they were actually they're contractually bound to not disclose any information of the game and the reasons why X and Y happen or that sort of stuff. It will be like a PR kind of hazard disaster in that sense, right?
And that's what they don't do it. That's why it is not common and it doesn't happen on major publishers.
Yeah, but the DE people are in a stream all the time.
and even them, most of them are not.
Yeah. Well, I mean by the week. What I mean by most of the time is they do a weekly. I know
what you mean, but even for them,
yeah,
most of the developers on the team are not public faces, and they do not stream, and they do not take part into into a public life, which most people don't like to.
Yeah, it's more like, I see it more like the risk is higher to get like harassed or social media bomb or that sort of stuff. That
it is very risky for sure.
Yeah, that the benefit of like getting closer to the community. Yeah, go ahead.
No, it is risky for sure, but a well orchestrated PR stunt would benefit a lot of games. Like,
fair enough.
Like we know, for example, that Destiny has its Destiny letter bullshit thing.
Yeah, the TWAP, as they call it. Yeah.
Whatever the crap they do.
Yes.
And I don't. And Bungie is a big like it's one of the big names out there.
Yeah.
I don't know many of their faces.
Correct.
And for me, the people making Destiny are just a faceless Bungie.
The faceless Bungie, yeah.
No, when I think about D, I don't think about D. I think about Steve.
Yeah, Steve. Yeah, Becca.
And even when I think about WoW, I don't think about Blizz, the faceless Blizzard.
Yeah.
Because I've seen more of their faces. Like,
Yes.
I think about Dion, for example.
Yeah.
He has a name and he has a face that I can put into it.
Yeah.
And I am a little bit more forgiving because they are people to me. They're not
a corporation.
Bungie.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. Like the psychological effects is absolute. Like if you put
I'll acknowledge
faces.
that it's just a PR stunt.
Yes, absolutely.
My point is that it works.
Yeah, my point is that it works. They tried to do it with like the funny part about the Anthem example is like they tried to do it with Anthem till the game launch.
And it worked.
And it did, and they keep doing it like for a couple of weeks
and it worked
after the game launch.
It worked. Look at all the stupid like the concept for Anthem is not that interesting.
Yeah.
But all the openness and being out there and all that bullshit, it worked.
Yeah.
It created the hype that they wanted.
Yeah. And they keep this.
Outriders, same shit.
Yeah. Yeah, the same for our riders. Yeah. And people are super forgiving with our riders.
Of course.
Yeah.
Because when you can put a face, like a human face to it.
So maybe the answer is yes. Be more human with your customers, I guess, so that you can trick them more into buying your bullshit broken games. Is that what you're telling me, Lucho?
No, but it's also it's also like for if you are the face.
Yeah.
You feel more like, and you know that you're the face facing the community.
Yeah.
You feel more accountable than hiding behind, it's the Blizzard face.
That's another argument if you feel more responsible personally about. Probably yes. Probably the effect psychologically speaking is yes, kind of like you have to affront people unless you're a complete
get a lot of shit on the internet. Yes.
Yeah. Unless you're a complete psychopath, you will feel stuff.
Of course, because it is like, I'm UI developer number 3 on Blizzard.
Yeah.
But one, you have to be the guy who that goes out and talk to content creators or go out to Reddit and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It puts people in a vulnerable position.
Yeah.
Will those people get a lot of shit from the internet?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's not for everyone.
Yeah.
You have to be careful. So you do. You don't put anyone on the fray without
knowing that they can take it. Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah. It is an interesting thing. Yeah, probably yes. Probably the answer to that is yes.
Work. The bullshit works.
Yeah. All right, and the second question of this week is, why does every game have a Pokemon-like side activity?
Because you want to catch them all.
You want to catch them all? Man, that game. But yeah, every single game has like a collect animals / things / it's just a basic collection betting system everywhere.
It takes a very primal thing in everyone's brain.
Yeah, so every game has like some kind of version of go and collect animals and pet them and raise them and stuff, and like
collecting is a very primal thing.
Yeah, it's very primal instinctual. You want to have it, everything. You don't want to have everything, but you want to have them all.
You have to collect them all.
And you want your little doggy and raise your little doggy in a virtual space or real life.
Why wouldn't you?
My God. All right, and that is it for this week podcast, my friend.
That's all for this week's episode. Once again, thanks for tuning into The Sweaty, the Farmer, and the Game Design. My name is Lucho, and you can find me on Twitter @LuisDePolanco.
And I'm the London Gamer. You can find me on Twitter @TheLondonGamer and on Twitch on twitch.tv/LondonGamer, where I stream. Follow me on my social media to know where I'm going live. Don't forget to share, like, subscribe, do everything social that. Let us know that you like the content. Leave us your comment, your dislikes, your everything, wherever you are. Even if you are watching us on YouTube, leave it in the comment section below. Don't be afraid. Don't be timid. It's fine. Nobody will judge you. So yeah, thanks for coming to The Sweaty, the Farmer, and the Game Design. See you next time.
Bye.
Did you know Japanese have been cultivating nori for 300 years? Nori does not naturally dry into flat sheets. It's not just like you take the weed out and you just put it into like the ground to dry. No. Traditional techniques are similar to paper making. That sounds interesting. Toasting, so you kind of like squish it and dry out the water and then put it to dry, something like that. And toasting the nori make it taste better and improve the texture. Hold store-bought sheets over a kitchen burner until edges start to curl, and then the sheet feels stiff. So if you have some seaweed at your house, you can just toast it a little bit, and apparently it's much better. I love to eat seaweed with like a little bit of rice and mayonnaise. Man, it was the best. It is the best, right?
Yeah. Nori cell walls lack cellulose, but they are protein rich, which means that humans are able to digest it, unlike most kelp.
So what is kelp? Is that more seaweed?
Other species of seaweed.
So the trick is that they don't have cellulose, so they are digestible.
Yeah, we humans cannot digest cellulose.
So if you eat a leaf from like a random tree, you cannot digest the leaf because it has cellulose. It's the same with paper.
You will poop it out.
Yeah, it's the same with paper. If you eat paper, you cannot digest it because it has cellulose. It's not digestible.
It is very interesting that we can digest nori.
Yeah, it's just because it doesn't have a thing. It's a plant that doesn't have a thing.
It may have it. I don't know that it has it.